Regular meeting to order. July 6th, 2023 at 7:17 p.m. The first order of business is a pledge of allegiance. Would you join me in the pledge of allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, the next order of business is an invocation. I see Ruth. Will you care to give it? Amen. Thank you, Ruth. Jen, will you call the roll?
Alderman Underbach,
Here.
Alderman Costa,
Here.
Mayor Gotway,
Here.
Alderman Whitman,
Here.
Alderman Johnson,
Here.
Alderman Alderman.
Yeah.
Alderman Gibbon.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Got a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Got a second by Mike. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the consent agenda is approved. Public comments. Jen?
Larry Bratton,
My name is Larry Bratton. My wife Cheryl and I live on Cruden Bay Court in the Emerald subdivision. I'm here tonight to help to reflect on the events that unfolded since the June 21st Aldermanic meeting. Everyone has the right to speak during an open forum, but due diligence before doing so is a necessary component. There were events during the June 21st Aldermanic meeting and the Wentzville June 28th meeting that drew the attention of many Darden Prairie residents, including myself. Earlier today, I met with Mayor Gotway, Alderman Johnson, City Administrator James Knowles, and another resident to provide my insight into the events. Going forward, both sides must be heard before conclusions are made. I hope we can put these events to rest and move forward.
My name is Cheryl Bratton, and I live the same place he does. A grammar lesson. When nouns and pronouns appear in the same sentence, the noun is an antecedent for the pronoun which restates it. It's not uncommon for nouns to be implied rather than stated, and the pronouns we, our, ours, and ourselves, called first-person collective, are used when referring to groups, teams, or committees. You probably need examples, so I'm going to use sentences from the speech Mr. Johnson gave before Ms. Wentzville's Aldermanic Board on June 28th. In the first sentence, I removed the name of the person he referred to. I'd like to thank the Alderman for giving the invocation in our meeting. And as you all know, we all have residents in our cities. Unless Mr. Johnson can prove the Wentzville Alderman prayed before another group of which Mr. Johnson is a member, his use of the first person collective pronouns our and we unfortunately implies Mr. Johnson was representing the Darden Prairie Board of Aldermen when he spoke that evening. Police were summoned, and had harassment been an issue during or after the June 21st meeting, certainly Mr. Johnson, the mayor, or one of you would have insisted upon being interviewed, so your remarks would be part of the police department's incident report. Instead, the report is even more boring than the pronoun lesson I just delivered. This is not the version of the speech I intended to read tonight. Out of respect for my husband and the fact that Mr. Johnson kindly apologized to him this morning, I made significant revisions to my original message. But you still can't ignore the fact that Mr. Johnson's elective pronouns clearly indicated he was speaking on the board's behalf. And as a result, fallout from the Darden Prairie and Wentzville meetings has been unnecessarily widespread. One sweet resident said Mr. Johnson's description of us as those residents, simply put, hurt her feelings. People involved in a place or situation where they're considered not to belong are called interlopers. It's easier, faster, and more convenient to blame interlopers, describing them as those residents, and express a desire to move on. But at least we know we're in good company. Clearly, the welcome mat for Darden Prairie residents is as tiny for us as it is for potential developers. At the end of the day, more people than Larry are looking forward to your apologies.
Paul Burke.
Thank you very much. Yes, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, and Mayor. Appreciate the opportunity to come here. My name is, and speak to you. My name is Paul Burke. I live in the Canvas Cove subdivision. And I'm going to first start off by, and this was not something I was going to address to begin with, but I wanted to say that I agree with Alderman Coslow that the reason you have 3 readings of a bill is to slow the process down in the terms that he used, make it more deliberative. I used to work in the legislature, and I've never seen 3 bills go through in 10 minutes, or a reading of 3 bills in the legislative format. You do 1 reading, and then it's rested. You do the 2nd reading, and then it's rested, and then the 3rd reading you vote. It just surprises me the way in which this board operates that way. But that's really not why I came to speak to you tonight. The reason I did come to talk to you was the fact that I'm really surprised. We were told by the mayor, we were told by the city administrator that the Prairie Encore development was clearly the best thing that could come. There would be no negative impact on our quality of life. We should, in fact, invite a 190 unit high-rise apartment complex, a liquor store, a convenience store. None of this will impact the quality of your life. And also, let's give these developers tax incentives to do that work. Then a developer comes along and says, you want to know something? I'm going to construct something that is not going to negatively impact the quality of the life of the Darden Prairie residents, and I'm not going to ask for tax incentives. And then at that meeting, those developers are made. I watched it. I would say that the veracity of their professionalism or their skills were called into question, and it just makes me wonder. It's like, whose side are we on? Are we on the quality of life in the city, or are we on the developer side? And as far as I'm concerned, right now, the decision of the past alderman indicated that they're not in favor of the quality of life. Darden Prairie was established because people didn't want to be sucked into O'Fallon. They didn't want the development, rapid, uncontrolled development. Well, that's what we got. But at least if I was in O'Fallon, I would have police, I would have garbage, I would have other amenities, and they have problems on their board. This board has problems. So it's like, what am I losing if we don't have Darden Prairie? I don't see a lot. So I thank you for your patience and listening to me. Thank you very much.
Fred?
Mr. Mayor, members of the board, my name is Brad Goss. I'm with the law firm of Amundsen Davis, 120 South Central, Suite 700, Clayton, Missouri 63105. I'm here before you tonight regarding bill number 2328. That's the Prairie Encore project. It relates to the final plan to be approved. Want to stress, this is not a rezoning. There is no discretion with the consideration of this approval. It is an administrative approval. Section 405.310 states the 4 criteria that apply. First criteria is does the final plan conform to the area plan? It does. It's exactly the same. Second criteria is whether all dedications have been effectuated. It does. The dedications are set out in the final plan. They'll be made per the city's regulations.
Seat. Test. Matt Siegel, 12647 Olive Street Road with TriStar Properties. Speaking on what was on the agenda, Bill 2329 for Cedar Stone, but also additionally, I just wanted to address the last city council meeting um, and how things went. Our last meeting during our public hearing process, we had some quality discussion throughout the entire process about all facets of the development. Um, good discussion took place. That's what makes for better development, makes for just all around quality process. The hearing closed. After the hearing, then under new business, if I'm correct, when the bill 2329 and 2330 were called, um, the council started talking about the project, and then all of a sudden brought up the vision committee um, moratorium. And I've been doing this 20 plus years. I have never been floored or shocked at how we were treated as a developer. Um, this council was intentional and deliberate about not bringing up putting us on potentially a 6-month hold during the candid quality discussion of back and forth that we were having. That was purposeful and that was unprofessional of all of you who participated in that. And I want to remind you that we had 100% unanimous approval of the planning commission. We have no neighborhood opposition of our project, and we want to do business here in Darien Prairie. So the compromise that I thought was going to be out there tonight, because it was on the agenda, then it was taken off at 4:30 yesterday, was we think that the Bill 2329 of the residential portion of that project should move forward. It was unanimously approved in 2018, unanimously approved by Planning Commission in 2018. We are asking for the compromise that be put forward up for reconsideration on the next council meeting for all of you to vote. You still would have 10 to 15 acres of frontage that should go through that vision committee. You know what? I will make a commitment. You're looking for a developer to be on that committee. I'm that guy. I'm the owner under contract for your most prime corner of that vision. I'll be that guy. I have other things to do. I travel all over the country doing developments, but I will, that's how bad that and how much I believe in this project and what we're trying to do. I'll be on that committee if you want me to be on that committee. I think it's important to point out that that portion of commercial, the 12 to 15 acres, that gets you more than you could ever imagine. You can get the highest end health club in the area is on 9.6 acres with 500 parking spots on 120,000 square feet.
3 minutes has expired. But it's just, if I let you.
I'm not looking for any.
No, if I let you continue, then I have to let everybody else continue as long as they want. So. Well, that's something we can consider. That's a board decision. Okay? No.
No, I started when the first word is said.
We will continue this discussion. Okay? Tomorrow at our meeting. Anybody else, Jen?
Sherry Haas.
My name is Sherry Hawes, and I live in Whispering Pines subdivision. Alderman Johnson's statement at the Wentzville Board of Alderman meeting, where he stated, "I just want to apologize to you for the residents of Darien Prairie. As you all know, we have those residents in our city. It's a rough job." Alderman Johnson's comments were insulting and not favorable to the residents of his constituents. Alderman Johnson owes the residents of Darien Prairie an apology for his public insult.
Joel King, 2 Toussaint Drive. And most of this is for the mayor here, because at the last meeting, you kind of went off on a tangent to the developers, TriStar of Cedar Stone, and went off on trying to justify the tax breaks that Calico or Calico, however you pronounce it, are getting, because these guys don't have to build a bridge. They don't have to have an off-ramp. They don't have to have lights added. They don't have to add turn lanes, so they can easily develop that piece of property. But where you compared it to Prairie Encore, that is like apples to watermelons. It should have been compared to the Prairie, the original one. As I drove through there today, there's not a bridge. They didn't have to build a bridge there. There's no off-ramp that they had to build. There's no extra turn lanes. There is, I know there's a couple lights that had to be upgraded, but all the electrical and everything was there. So why did they get such a tax break when these guys can do it without it? And I do agree with them that this stuff should board. I understand that, but sometimes you just got to break the rules, because let me tell you, the rules are broken for Prairie Encore. But sometimes you break or bend the rules if something comes forward that is going to benefit the city. And let me tell you, Again, I didn't hear any complaints from any of the residents for what Cedar Stone is going to bring. So I think you guys need to untable it if you can and vote for this project. Let's get this going. These guys are here to help us. And you say you need tax money to help build these roads or fix our roads. Let's get it going. They're ready to go. Thank you.
Seconds, favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. James, will you read Bill 20?
Bill 2334, an ordinance of the city of Dayton Prairie, Missouri, authorizing the mayor, city administrator, and city treasurer to execute and submit a 2024 Transportation Alternatives Program application to East West Gateway Council of Governments for federal funding to construct the Henning Road Multi-Use Trail Reconstruction Project and authorizing the expenditure of the application fee for the same.
Any discussion or debate?
Move for a second reading. Second.
Got a first by Justin, second by Mike. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. James, will you read Bill 2034 for the second time?
Bill 2334, an ordinance of the city of Dayton Prairie, Missouri, authorizing the mayor, city administrator, and city treasurer to execute and submit a 2024 Transportation Alternatives Program application to East West Gateway Council of Governments for federal funding to construct the Henning Road Multi-Use Trail Reconstruction Project and authorizing the expenditure of the application fee for the same.
Any discussion or debate?
For a roll call vote.
Got a motion for a roll call vote. Justin? The second by Mark? All in favor?
Aye.
Jen, will you call the roll?
Alderman Woodman,
Aye.
Alderman Gettemeyer, Alderman Johnson.
Aye.
Alderman Costello,
Aye.
Alderman Ungerbach,
Aye.
Alderman Long.
Aye.
2258.
2258.
Yes.
I declare Bill 2334 as ordinance 2258. Got a motion to read resolution,
Move to adopt
or
resolution.
move to adopt resolution 370.
Would you be amenable to a explanation of this resolution before we move to adopt it?
Sure.
James, would you mind, for the edification of the board as well as those in attendance, explaining what the St. Charles County bike plan is and how it affects the city?
Sure. So St. Charles County, a couple of years ago, engaged in a study where they created a comprehensive bike plan for the county. It does primarily deal with county roads, but it tries to incorporate all the municipal government areas and any bike plans that might be individually adopted by local governments. Anytime we do a project like Hanley Road's resurfacing here coming up this upcoming year, we have to go to St. Charles County, and the bike plan is part of what we try to build in, either like bike lanes, sharrows, et cetera, as part of the planning and construction for these projects. We've never adopted it as our own in the past. However, our city engineer was very adept at filling out these applications for the grants. Notice that if we actually adopt their bike plan, which we already follow anyway, and actually have a resolution for it, we'll get an extra 5 points on our grants in the future. So since we already have to do what they tell us, we might as well sign off and saying, we will follow it, which we, like I said, we do anyway. Again, we're more or less beholden to them on their bike improvements they like. So it doesn't commit us to any funding. It doesn't commit us to any requirements that we're not already required to when we have their oversight. It's just kind of a plan, a vision for how the whole county tries to have an interconnected bike and trail system.
And one of the biggest requests that I hear from residents is hiking and biking and activity spaces outdoors. So, so I will happily second the motion by Alderman Ungerbach to adopt resolution 370.
All in favor to adopt resolution 370?
Aye.
Any opposed? Here none, resolution 370 is adopted.
Move to read Bill 2335 for the first time.
Get a motion to read Bill 2335 for the first time. Justin? Second? Okay. He's on the board, the ambulance board with this one, so. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Mike seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Here none. James, will you read Bill 2335?
All right, Bill 2335, an ordinance of the city of Garden Prairie, Missouri, authorizing the city administrator to negotiate and execute a real estate agreement by and between the city and St. Charles County Ambulance District in connection with the Stump Road Reconstruction and Improvements Project.
Any discussion or debate?
Yeah, I have some questions.
Yeah.
On this agreement, this real estate sale agreement, it has general warranty deed amount of 22,576, different easements, totaling a total purchase price of 24,767. Was that amount based on what? Was it based on an appraisal? And how does this compensation compare to what other resident needs?
There's actually a taking, I have to look at the bill. They generally, accepted what the right-of-way acquisition firm's appraisal was. So, generally speaking, everybody was negotiated differently, but the right-of-way acquisition firm did individual assessments and valuations of each property. And based on whether or not it was a taking, an actual right-of-way taking, or if it was construction easement, they were offered an amount based on a percentage of that. Obviously, if somebody's just grading your yard, they're paying you a percentage of the value. If they're actually taking your yard, then you're getting. So I don't have an in-depth analysis of how this compares to others, but all of these were negotiated separately. So some people negotiated differently.
Okay, is it, I couldn't tell if it was a sizable amount. I mean, there were some, because this also was a last minute kind of added to the agenda, so not really sure, and residents weren't really sure too, how much land we're really talking about. And the other question that we have is that when it references on the warranty deed, it has an amount of consideration of $10. And instead of, I would expected to see 22,576, and the same thing for the temporary construction easement, it has consideration of $10. Is that? Okay.
That's a legal thing. I will leave the city.
And I would advise against that,
What advise against what?
adding those dollar amounts to those dollars.
Oh, just leaving $10 in?
Right.
Okay. For us, non-attorneys, why would that be?
I'm happy to go on the closed session if you want to discuss that in detail, but I will with the session.
Okay,
And to that point, I do intend, to my previous comments about reading first time one meeting, second time in the next meeting, giving us time for action. I do plan on moving to postpone this one. So questions. Haven't moved yet, but we can get time to talk.
So what would be the purpose? All of this has been an administrative right-of-way taking. And this has been no different than every other negotiated one, which we've done now 8, 9. So I guess the question would be, what is the difference?
Well, this one I had some questions on that I don't know that we necessarily can cover here, but it was put on the agenda
Call for a closed session.
just over 24 hours ago. So unless there is a burning platform that we have to approve this tonight.
There is, so I'm gonna ask for a closed session,
Okay,
okay? And, we'll discuss it, the legal aspect of it, get a motion for a closed session.
Subject to which subsections?
Six.
16, 1, 1 and 3, 1 and 2.
We need to hold a closed session pursuant to 610.021 sections 1 and 3.
One and
2.
1 and 2.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor? Any opposed? Okay, hearing none, we're gonna recess for a closed session real quick. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Roll call vote.
Alderman Gettlemeyer. We're closed.
Oh.
Alderman Longley.
Aye.
Alderman Whitman.
Aye.
Alderman Coslow.
Aye.
Alderman Ungerbach.
Aye.
Okay, yeah, let's call the Board of Alderman meeting back to order.
Mr. Mayor, while I know that there were certain legal matters that we uh, had to discuss in closed session, I know that the Alderman did want to make sure that we just have at least a quick explanation as to timing issues. This ordinance in question, the last right of way that has to be acquired for a stump road project. There has been ongoing conversation between the ambulance district attorney and our attorney about the contract, even though it had been in principle agreed to for quite some time. And so we just got this back from timing issues, in part because we just got this back from the ambulance district, and we are running up against a deadline with MoDOT to certify that we have all the right of ways acquired. And so that is why we were able to hurry up and put this on the agenda. As I said, that all of the other parcels have been acquired and signed off on, and at least principally, monetarily, the ambulance district has been in agreement with the city for months. It's just a matter of, we just got the legalese worked out. So we appreciate your indulgence in getting this passed so we can certify our completion of MoDOT.
Move to read Bill 2335 for a second time by title only.
Second.
Got a motion by Mike, a second by Justin, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. James, will you read Bill 2335 for a second time?
Sure. Bill 2335, an ordinance of the city of Darden Prairie, Missouri, authorizing the city administrator to negotiate and execute a real estate agreement by and between the city and St. Charles County Ambulance District in connection with the Stump Road Reconstruction and Improvements Project.
More discussion?
vote.
Got a motion for roll call vote. Justin, second by Mike. Jen, will you call the roll?
Alderman Gettemeyer. Aye. Alderman Wanley.
Aye.
Alderman Costello.
Aye.
Alderman Ungerbach.
Aye.
Alderman Whitman.
Aye.
2259.
Got to clear Bill 2335 is ordinance 2259. Old business. Okay, we're gonna make a motion to extend or continue, postpone it till the
Yeah.
next meeting to include additional changes.
Yeah, pursuant with the workshop discussion about certain amendments, move to postpone Bill 2324 until next meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. We gotta call them. Mark back now.
Sorry, Mark.
Yeah, sorry.
So Mark, you in favor of postponing the Bill 2324 until the next meeting? Mark.
Doesn't really matter if I'm in favor.
Aye.
Everybody else.
But you're the one that suggested it, so I hope he still is.
Yeah, I wanted to make sure I was on the right.
Yeah.
Trying to break you.
Okay, here, any opposed? Hearing none, we're gonna postpone Bill 2324 until next meeting.
Move to rebuild 2328 for the first time?
Yes, it's never been read. And a motion to rebuild 2328 for the first time. Got a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. James, will you rebuild 2328?
Sure. Bill 2328, an ordinance of the city of Dardenne Prairie, Missouri, approving the PUD final plan for development commonly known as Prairie Encore and located in the city of Dardenne Prairie, Missouri.
Any discussion or debate?
Since I voiced the concerns, I believe last time I wanted to thank the developer for submitting the documents that were requested. After we got that, it looks like.
Move to read Bill 2328 for a second time.
Had a motion to read Bill 2328. Justin?
Okay.
Had a second by Mark. All in favor? Any opposed? Hear none. James, will you read Bill 2328 for a second time?
Bill 2328, an ordinance of the city of Dardenne Prairie, Missouri, approving the PUD final plan for development commonly known as the Prairie Encore and located in the city of Dardenne Prairie, Missouri.
Any discussion or debate?
Move for a roll call vote.
Had a motion for a roll call vote. That by Justin. Second.
Second.
A second by Keith. Jen, will you call the roll?
Alderman Costello.
Aye. Aye.
Alderman Johnson.
Aye.
Alderman Ungerbach.
Aye.
Alderman Wanling.
Aye.
Alderman Wittleman.
Aye.
Alderman Gedemeyer.
The
2260.
60. I declare Bill 2328 as ordinance 2260. Let's move to staff communications. City attorney,
I have nothing, Mayor.
city engineer.
I think we've hashed it out.
Hashed out, okay. City administrator,
I don't know if Jen will mention it, but I'll make sure I'll let anybody know that tomorrow is bingo here in Dardenne Prairie here in this room. So those of you who are coming, welcome. But those of you who are interested in coming, I'm sure we can squeeze.
You're a Dardenne Prairie resident. You're welcome to come.
What time?
Correct. What's the time it starts? Lunch? starts at
11 a.m. is the beginning of lunch, and then noon we play bingo to about 2:30. Doors unlocked. Well, front doors are unlocked at 8, but we really kind of have people come in and get settled around 10:30.
I wanted to
And we have a
thank,
Sunday bar. So
Alderman Johnson and the mayor for offering up their barbecuing services, and then so this will be. You look like you're concerned, Jen.
I'll be inside. You guys play with the fire.
So we again welcome all Dardenne Prairie residents to see there. I have nothing further though.
Alderman,
I just, I raised this to the city administrator. I don't know if anyone else is seeing it anywhere else, but apparently Mike and I both got a call from a resident, Stony Brook, and this is probably at least the second or third time that I've heard people want to use it as a drag strip, that nice little loop. So I'm hoping we can get our friends with the police department to maybe put some of their stealth camera in and see when this is happening and how bad it is. I've heard a lot about that subdivision, but obviously it's a not very populated one.
Stony Brook, you know where that's at? Oh,
great.
So it's, yeah.
Did you drag race?
so we're on it.
Anyways,
Okay,
no,
would
that
you
was-
please look into that? Thank you.
I'd like to thank Mr. Braden for coming in today and speaking with the administrator. Appreciate his comments about hearing both sides of the story, understanding, and when we dropped this, as far as the comments that were made, I believe I was using the correct language as I spoke as we as citizens at Dardenne Prairie when I was speaking, and speaking as our, which is our city as citizens here. Dardenne Prairie. If it was taken wrong or whatever, I do apologize to the residents, but there was no ill intent on anything. All I can talk about is what I seen from the diocese of the actions of the people I was ashamed of. Just like I would have been ashamed of my kids if they would all jumped up like they did. So that there was no intent of pointing out one person or directing it towards.
Any other Alderman?
I do have
Dave?
a
Oh,
good idea.
go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, so I wasn't going to say anything about last week's events. but I feel that I need to at least go on the record with something. I promised at the end of the last meeting to look into what happened, as I always do, to be as objectively as possible. And in that review of footage and audio recordings, things like that, trying to understand what happened, because I was distracted and didn't actually see it unfold. I think that there were some things that were said and done by multiple people that probably weren't advised. And we've had some good conversations with residents about, things that could be done better. Nobody's perfect. But the last Winsville meeting, the gentleman in question that joined us for the meeting used his stage as an alderman for Winsville to make some very incendiary and untrue statements that maligned the residents of Garden Prairie, that obscured the truth. They were flat out lies, verifiable lies. But the most egregious was when he called out one of Garden Prairie's residents, claiming that they made bigoted statements during that meeting. And I'll say, Amy, I am sorry that was said to you. I know you well, and I know for a fact that nothing like that would come out of your mouth. And I think he realized he screwed up with his loose speech by whenever he started to walk that back. But I had the utmost respect for Amy, and I have never heard her utter a single word of admonition based on any characteristics like that. I'm really disappointed in my peer. And I hope that he can find a way to accept the truth and speak it openly, instead of feeling like he has to lie to avoid scrutiny. So that's all I will say about that. And I think that this is a good time to move on from it and focus on what's going on in Garden Prairie.
Dave?
I just wanted to say, I wanted to agree with you, Mike. I had no idea he was. Not agree.
Appreciate that.
Dave?
Did you offer the opportunity to him to press charges?
We went through that. He was making statements. He was making statements, and I said to him, if you felt like you were being attacked or you were being whatever, I said, you have the option to press charges.
You called him the next day?
I didn't call him.
Okay.
No, I didn't.
So.
I mean, he
That's what
called
said.
me,
That-
he was
okay,
asking
so-
me, he was
so-
asking me to attend that meeting, and I said, no, I will not attend that meeting.
Okay, so he said from their dais that you called him the next day and offered that to him. So he is incorrect then. Okay, thank you.
No different than I offered Larry, that if he felt like he was violated, he could press charges too.
I just asked if you called him the next day, like he said in his rant. So you did not, is that what you're saying?
That's absolutely what I'm
Okay.
saying.
Thank you.
He called wanting a video of the meeting, and we provided it to him.
Go on.
Yes. Okay, are we all done with the alderman?
I'm good.
I just wanted to point out there might be people.
He-
Yeah, sorry. As always, I just want to say thank you all for coming out and participating in the meeting. Again, I'm going to say it every time I'm up here. I think it's really important for you guys to continue to engage. I know there's certain things are moving on that brought a lot of folks out here. I really hope that you guys continue to come here and provide your thoughts and inputs. It's very important for us all on the board to hear that. Thank you for your time. And I also want to thank the deputy from the St. Charles County Sheriff's Office for coming out tonight and providing security for us, but that's it.
I have a question. Is the security coming to mind all the time? Because the one thing that I would say is at the last meeting, I wouldn't call it terrified, but I was certainly upset about going back and forth. And all I could think about is the Kirkwood Board of Alderman meeting where Cookie took out several aldermen. So I'm concerned about that.
We were supposed to have an officer at every meeting. That meeting, there was a mess up. There wasn't a pass down to someone to attend. And
Is he going to be
If- if-
prohibited from coming back to meetings? Because quite frankly, he kind of scares me.
no,
He can come.
anybody, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
For the patrol sergeant or the terminology, I'm not really certain of, but he assured us at the end of that meeting that there would not be another meeting here that would be missed by the St. Charles County Sheriff's
good to know.
Officer. So he said he's doubly committed. It was a mistake, as Mayor had said, but he's fully committed to making sure it doesn't happen again. So take him on his word on it.
Okay, so, Mark, go ahead, continue. Do we want, I just need a show of hands as far as the board. Do we want to move forward with the, what's it called? The NLC, National Conference?
I would see merit and having some representation. Getting some more ideas and thoughts into our board and how we do business. I would see merit in it.
Okay.
I personally wouldn't be able to go. We could, I think it's always good to reach out and learn more and grow and develop. Cross pollination of ideas through me.
Just the board, I'm supposed to ask this yet, but we currently have approximately $23,000 collectively, staff for training, conferences.
As we're always going.
Yeah. And we did over the last budget increase that number for twofold, both in anticipation for participation with the LC and also for increased training for staff. I don't know where we're at now because Kim's out of town, so I don't have a year-to-date number spent. But it would be a good approximation for all the costs involved in the event with per diems, providing in some of these events at the NLC, about $2,000 a person. Airfare, hotel, registration. Registration itself is almost $700.
So is that the only cost associated with it? Or do we have a membership to the NLC right now, or do we need to get that?
We do have that, and we do have that budget for it. So, that is the member price. Prices. Hey, like I said, I think it was $17.50. I just threw in like $250 for per diems.
And a lot of the meals.
Yeah, I mean, there will be a lot that's provided at this. On the high side of utilities.
In general, I'm open to exploring other educational opportunities for the Alderman staff as always. I agree with increasing the training education budget. If this with other training needs for the rest of the year is the best use, look for a little guidance, or if there are better events, maybe a little bit closer to home.
We've been lucky so far. We've done a lot of training, a lot more training this year than we've done in past years. We've taken advantage of both training from TR, SEMA, and some other partners. So it's actually been, most of it's been free. We've had, I mean, a few that maybe been $100, but we've gotten a lot of training.
With your background, you've gone to a lot of different stuff. And
Hey man, I was out in the creek in Brentsville, pulling bugs out of the creek to do water testing with the guys.
Awesome.
Counting bugs is how you figure out water clarity.
Well, next time you do that, call Justin.
Okay, well, Justin, not you.
I'm certainly not opposed to anyone from the Board of Aldermen going, but I'd like to make sure that staff's getting the training and education first before we start sending this. Yep. Given just the amount of stuff.
Just kind of a,
Unless you want to put it on the next agenda.
we'll put it on the next agenda to vote on.
What are we
Or,
voting on?
Well, we haven't
Whether or not-
budgeted. I guess the question would be, unless there is a number greater than budgeted amount. If there's, I guess I would say in the next I can send out the information, to everybody. Let's do a poll between the meetings of interest. I mean, if there's only one or two people interested, we've got more than enough money to pay for that. If there's 10 people interested, then we need to discuss cost. So I'll send out all the information, the agendas, you can look it over. And then just in the next 2 weeks, let's decide what the interest is.
Just given the timeframe, the dates that we're throwing out, it's unlikely.
November 15th,
What's that?
November 15th to the 8th.
Right. And the price doesn't go
November
up.
15th is a really bad day for me to be out of town. It'll be my wedding anniversary.
Take her to Atlanta, take her on a trip.
So does it, if I take her.
Okay, so I've got one thing I want to bring up.
We good?
No, I got one thing I want to bring up. We talked about our, display sign or our
Yes,
message sign. Okay, have you looked at it anymore?
I haven't got a chance to go out there.
Okay, well, I've got 2 bids. One for a double-sided 10 mm sign. Ours is 25 mm height, which is pretty big, pretty not very clear. 10 mm is very clear for approximately 27,000
Double side.
installed double-sided. Then I've got one for a 6 mm sign, which is very clear, for about 30,000. So, I'm gonna have that next meeting to vote on, to see if we wanna replace it. I know I've called 2 different sign companies. One guy's looked at it, they spent a lot of time trying to find parts, they couldn't find them. They said, sorry, can't fix it. Another person looked at it and said, I have no interest in even working on this. So
The sign works. I got the other side.
the problem, the sign always came on. The problem is updating it. Through any way of possibly updating it to put a new program. It doesn't, it won't talk to anything. It won't talk to the laptop. It won't talk through Wi-Fi. It's just,
Well, I'll carve out some time to come take a look at it, but the last time that you said one of the sides wasn't working, I was able to do that because just a moment, so. I
well,
do-
what I meant by one of the sides not working, that side was static. It would not take anything. It came, they both came.
Oh, when I went out there, it didn't turn on. So I'll go take a look at it.
Okay, well, they both, there wasn't an issue with, that I knew of not coming on. The issue has always been updating. They both had a program that was running, displaying. The side facing us just stopped, became static. And you can't, but all the lights do come on.
Okay.
So. Okay, that's all I have. Got a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
I
Board of Alderman meeting is adjourned.
All right. Yeah. Hardware.